Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SLE. We got ourselves yet another banger on our hands. I am Sandbag, and joining me on the desk, as per usual, the familiar face of Dessa. Dessa, how are we doing today?
Oh, we are doing so fantastic, and today is such an exciting day for SLE. Not only do we have the game on, obviously, on broadcast as well, but there is, I believe, if I'm not entirely mistaken, 5 games going on tonight between 10 different teams. So
Holy.
it's definitely a good time.
Absolutely. You will not be lacking for SLE content one way or another. But leading things off, fresh out of the gate, is going to be Black Manta taking on the, if I'm not mistaken, newly rebranded Solaris. Do you know what the story is with that? There's a logo change, if I'm not mistaken, in there somewhere.
Yeah, so Solaris Eris is rebranded, previously known as Quantify. For their reason of rebranding, I'm not entirely sure. I think it might be some just internal things going on with their team. But currently, Quantify being 4-4 against BLM, going up against tonight is gonna be 3-5. So definitely a fight of, I wanna say, the lower tier teams, but still should be some exciting content. And I'm definitely looking forward to it because every time I feel like Black Manta steps up onto a stream every time they step up into a game. They are such an unpredictable team, in my opinion. Like they can either go all 10 or 10-0, but they always produce a banger and they always are looking for an absolute fist fight.
Absolutely. That's one of the nice things about being able to be one of those sort of middle of the pack squads is you have a little bit more room to play with of playing fast and loose, right? You don't necessarily need to go into every game super clean and clinical. You're expected to be able to get away with some silliness because sometimes you can even be kind of overlooked in a way of moving on, looking towards the next week. So coming out of the gates, teams that play well on stream also, that's a legit thing where some players just wait until they have eyes on them to just crank out the most ridiculous nonsense that they've been saving. And I'm sorry, I'm going to completely pull us out of this preparation just back one set of games because you guys casted a support Ornn without me, and I will not forgive you. The fact I was not given an invite, I will not forgive the SLE. I will make sure that I remember this for days. So, like, we're talking about interesting and exciting picks coming up. That is where I would love to start. So, how do we look to even top that, knowing that that's the floor for these 10 games? Or
I honestly I don't think you can top that. I do have to say, since you did bring us back into that matchup, I do want to give props to both God of Hacks and Zench because they were casters on the desk when that happened, and they did a very good job of trying to sort of analyze what the hell was going on. Ended up being a support Ornn, which I'm not entirely sure about, but hey, they I watched the game back because I saw like on Discord, I saw in general, everyone's talking about the support, and I'm like, excuse me, what happened here? So I went back, watched it, and I will admit they are pretty far with it. Like they put up, considering it was a support Ornn, which you generally tend to not see Ornn in that role. They put up quite the fight against Silver Phoenix, which I gotta say, if they can do that with support Ornn, I'm definitely excited to see what else they can cook up and what else they have stored up in their roster.
well, you're saying that like it's a handicap, man. Support Ornn is technology. You go Radiant Virtue, you go Redemption to buff your Radiant Virtue. You're going either Q max or E max, depending on if it's melee or range. I have tested this thoroughly, and it still kind of sucks, but there are moments. There are occasionally moments where it's good, and you basically get ornaments for free on your team. So there's a chance. I know squads have your prep. Black Manta, I'm sure you have a game plan. Kindly throw it all in the bin, slam Ornn first pick, blue one, and then we get ourselves. That's the start that we're looking for.
Is Primordial's gonna be the team that starts this whole sort of Ornn mixed lane? Because are we gonna be going into teams picking like Ornn first pick and it's gonna be a flex pick into the support role. Like maybe they are the trendsetters. Maybe Primordials, they're gonna be the ones who we look back after the split and they're gonna be like, damn, those were the guys where it all started off. But enough talk about last night's matchup. We're gonna start focusing on today's matchup, BLM versus Solaris, and already draft underway.
Yep, we are going to be slotting into Champion Select. So far, we have Silas and Rel banned out on the side of Black Manta, red side in the meanwhile knocking the second horse off of the table with the Heckram ban out. Glaringly, Ornn is still present, so we still have a chance at this. I swear that's the last Joker that I'm making until we mention Orngle. It is a three-way flex, Orngle on the table, taking smites. So yeah, there's a chance. But instead, I'm looking at very heavy focus towards these jungles, so that is an actual real ban with the Nocturne coming through that often ends up paired in these sort of messy, chaotic fights, the Nikos, the Cannons alongside it. You cut the lights, you press all your keys, and the games just get real messy. So trying to clean it up a little bit here for Solaris.
Definitely so, and I mean, I've talked about this before, right? You can pair up champions like Nocturne with a Malphite, potentially, and yeah, Malphite ulti, it's not the easiest thing in the world to flash even when you can see it, but if it's coming out of darkness, it's practically impossible for you to react to it, and abilities such as that can have such a big impact in team fights as well. If you can hit that carry, if you can sort of hit 3 or 4 people with it, you can immediately turn a team fight around. But this time it is going to be just lights on 24/7 Nocturne out of the pool, and I am expecting for some ADC priority coming out from the side of BLM. Obviously, Kai'Sa tends to be what people opt into as the first pick, but screw that. They're gonna just throw everything I said out the window and they're gonna look in Syndra instead.
Interesting. It's going to be the blind pick mid here. Normally, you cover jungle, you cover AD. That seems to be the standard support if you're real spicy, but nope. Solo lane control mage, they value this so highly for mentally unstable that they're willing to just say, all right, see what you got. Counter pick me. I dare you.
Yeah, definitely so, and we'll see what and Solaris end up drafting into that Syndra. So far we do see an Ezreal lock in, which can be paired up with a bunch of things, right? Ezreal is one of those champions where people sort of tend to think him as the weak early game, sort of you just sit there and chill, but if you can manage your stacks and if you can get that attack speed going and pumping, you have one of the highest, if not the highest attack speeds in the early game when it comes to AD carries, if you do get those stacks up. And you can always opt into the laning phase. He can do things there, or you can opt into something like a Nautilus potentially and just say, look, you can just run around the map. I'm gonna sit down here, I'm gonna spam Q, and I'm just gonna stack my tier till the end of the days.
True. You have huge amounts of flexibilities.
Ornn!
No, don't get baited by the lock-ins. Never get baited. Wait for the hovers, and then we celebrate the fact that we got ourselves an Ornn support. Categorical. It's happening, Dessa. We are running it back. There's no way, no other role this champion fits into these days in this meta. Yes.
No, it has to be, right?
Okay, in all seriousness, 2 points I want to bring up when it comes to the Ornn, because I'm in case chat is unaware, the fact that I'm hard tunneling on this champion in every role. This is my one trick. This is my absolutely beloved Ram, and it is quite nice to be able to play it into the J4 because you get a Cataclysm. You can A, destroy terrain with your E and get the knockup of it. So while Jarvan looks for that engage into the backlines, Cataclysm, you just punch your way out and Syndra no longer has to be completely gated by Flash. So that's actually a really nice interaction in terms of both blind pickability for the top tank and also an answer to the Cataclysm considering your mid has no dash.
Definitely so, and the Cataclysm can be such a powerful tool against things like a Syndra, which you already brought up, and depending on the AD carry on the side of Black Manta as well, can be a very powerful tool against that. And things like Xayah are still open, right? And Jarvan is very strong against things like Xayah because, like you said earlier, same thing with Syndra, no dash, right, on the Xayah. That is the only way to get out of the Cataclysm. Now, things like Thresh tend to get picked up against the Jarvan, but so far we are yet to see too many Threshes and too many Thresh players in the SLE, and so far it does tend to just be, you pick something that can dash into it, and you just make sure that the AD carry can get out of the Cataclysm on his own. Kaisa is still open, so a lot of these AD carry options, a lot of meta AD carry options are still open for both sides.
Absolutely. It's a couple of answers here, there, and everywhere. And while we were talking about these specific interactions, we got ourselves one of the spicier counter picks that we see these days, the Yasuo answer into the control mage. So thoughts on that one here, looking headlong into the matchup. We blind the Syndra, counter pick me, and he's just more than happy to challenge with that melee mid.
I'm so excited to see a Yasuo. I think this is gonna be the first Yasuo off Split 5, and in my recollection at least, the first Yasuo I've seen in a while in any SLE game. And like you said, can be so good against those control mages, right? But it's gonna be Dot on the Yasuo, and mid lane is definitely, I feel like, where both of these teams are gonna be looking at, right? Because mid lane being the role that can have such influence, right? And such power over the early game. You can manage your waves, right? Get those roaming timings in. And especially in a matchup like this, where if you can just sort of negate the Yasuo and just have the Syndra scale on up, get those splinters in, the Yasuo is still a very good pick into the Syndra, but Syndra can still sort of just play around it in the later stages of the game. But so far, we do have the Jarvan, and I'm looking for some more knockups, some more setups for the Yasuo, and so far it is the Nautilus Hover, which would be ideal with the Yasuo. Never mind.
Along the lines with the knockup again. Come on, Matt. You're better than this. You've been doing this round. Never get baited by the hovers. They play with your heartstrings. They hover something fun, and then you get to watch like Vi Maokai for the 30th time in a row. And it's like fun and exciting. But like you said, Yasuo, no introduction needed. Knockups, knockups, knockups. Jarvan, EQ. Cho'Gath, Rupture. He's got his own NATO. Nautilus could be the takeaway here because it would really nicely round out the red side draft, knowing that with A, Braum banned, and B, Ezreal being able to be that individualistic AD carry where you just let the Titan go on his walkabouts, just kind of meandering up and down the river as he sees fit. I would absolutely love that take. So it does surprise me that they take Cho'Gath over it, which gets absolutely bodied by the Ornn up in the top then.
Definitely does, and I was about to not get baited by the hovers again, but we have a Renekton with an Ornn, which means this is a... Oh, wait, what? Okay.
Mage bot. It's Mage bot.
Oh, no. This is the Syndra into the Ezreal, Renekton counter pick into Yasuo, right? Like, it has to be.
Yeah. It's gonna be Ornn top, it's gonna be Renekton, because it's basically unbinds Yasuo's E key. Anytime that he goes for a dash in, he just gets stunned and queued and then has to leave again. So it's just an insta losing trade. I do like this hide, and it suddenly makes sense. When you have a marksman player who can play something that doesn't right click, you unlocked so many options on your draft. And even for us, I'm so used to marksman players only right clicking that the Syndra bot makes so much sense in this comp to set up the Yasuo answer. So this Black Manta, I'm loving the way they're crafting this.
Definitely so, and I mean, Jomi is obviously known as one of the players who doesn't just play AD carries, known for his Seraphine. So we do definitely have some AD carries and some people in SLE who can just do other things when right click. But I personally, like you said it yourself, I love this counter pick, right? They saw the Yasuo into the Syndra, and this is why I feel like on the side of BLA they first picked that Syndra, right? They knew that if it's a bad matchup, we can just send that Syndra down to the bot lane. It's fine. And then just pick something better into that mid lane. Gonna be the Renekton coming in. And this means that BLM are gonna have pretty much, I would argue, permanent priority in that mid lane into the Yasuo. And that's a scary thing to play against.
Absolutely. I mean, Black Manta, okay. We do temper this a little bit. We always have to give the asterisks of execution is king. If you can execute to a high level, the comps suddenly fall flat. But right now, it's hard for me not to sing BLM's praises in that Ornn beats Cho in terms of your max health plus your brittle. Renekton hard beats Yasuo because you stat check him, He can't really dash and do any of his crazy Yasuo 1v9 XD outplays with point and click stuns and too much HP. And Nautilus Syndra is point and click CC into point and click damage. It doesn't matter how slippery you are with the arcane shifts, the moves, the flashes, the cleanse, the heals, the whatever. Ezreal gets clicked on and takes damage. There's only so much you can do about this. So BLM, it just feels like have everything that they could want in this collection plate.
Definitely so, and this is, I mean, such a smart move from them, right? And something that I definitely did not see coming. And I love this, right? Because I know I said we were done talking about the matchup, a couple of days ago, but Primordials did this, right? Orange support, yeah, might not be the best thing in the world, but they
Nice.
innovated, right? They
Exactly.
said they went out there with something that wasn't necessarily meta, and BLM are doing the same thing. I would argue Syndra ADC makes a lot more sense than Orange support does, but still, this is something we're yet to see in SLE, something we are yet to see any team run yet. And we are like only, what, week 5, week 4 in to SLE regular season, and so far we've seen minimal innovation. And if this is what teams are starting to do, if we're starting to see things like Orange support, if we're starting to see things like Syndra ADC, it only makes me excited for the continuation, right? Because it means
Mhm.
that any team can pull out anything, and you'll never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing that I want to touch on here is you're talking about things that you haven't seen, brand new looks and innovation. This game has a Yasuo in it. I think we are underselling the fact that this is a Yasuo mid who I feel like Solaris will live or die by the success of their Yasuo. If he's able to start cutting through these beefier members, Orns, Nautilus, or Nectins, he has the damage to cut through those, then you can simply, if fight, yes, Alistair in, Cho in, J4 in, everyone's got ways of getting in, getting involved, and getting their hands dirty. There's not huge ways. I mean, there's a couple good peel tools on the side of BLM, specifically that scatter, but there will come a point in time where if Yasuo gets behind, their comp falls apart. They simply run out of damage. So just keep your eyes on this Yas, because this is going to have to take something special to try and pull this in.
A mid lane is gonna have to be key, right? And yeah, it's a lot on the Yasuo, but I gotta admit, Solaris have done a good job of sort of drafting around it, right? Because you're looking at the sort of setup, and you have to look at the knockups that surrounds the Yasuo. And yes, you have the tornado itself, but here you're looking at a Jarvan EQ, right? A flag and drag, you're looking at a Cho'Gath Rupture, you're looking at Alistar knockup, and you said it earlier, so much setup for this Yasuo. And if this Ezreal can just sort of chill down bot lane, you should be able to somewhat keep up with the Syndra, but I feel like for the most part, our cameras are gonna be shying away from this bot lane. Yes, you said it yourself, it is a Nautilus Syndra, a lot of CC, a lot of lockdown in that lane, especially past level 6 once you unlock that depth charge onto that Nautilus. But before then, our eyes are going to be glued in this mid lane and in this top lane because it should be winning matchups all across the board for the side of BLM, and I feel like we're gonna have to see something very special coming out of Solaris if they want to play around this. And so far, I gotta say we haven't seen that, right? Like, I feel like I at least speak for myself when I said I haven't entirely been impressed with what they have done so far. 4-4 in the standings, and it's just I don't know, but we're gonna have to see, and I'm hoping for a great game.
Absolutely. I mean, I can guarantee it. Looking at these comps, this will be content. One way or another, clips will be had. Whether or not it is the Yasuo 1v9 Doinby Rise Hack Pentakill angle, or this is my Yasuo is disconnected and sitting into my fountain, guys, because he's got stat checked by Renekton for the fourth time in a row. There will be some sort of content, one way or another. So that the entertainment there is absolutely guaranteed. Now this is up to the cohesion, the comp, the execution, and the one that I want to talk about every time the king is in the game, you need to talk about his early J4. He is still king of the what is he doing here at this point in time? The classic red buff into top gank maneuver. He's level 2 and sitting in my tribush for 3 to 5 business days. My gold does not matter. My farm doesn't matter as long as you're getting less than I am. So he is going to be the one to set up Dot. Lazy Panda has got to be impactful to get things going and just stop the BLM war machine before it can even roll.
Definitely so, and I mean the setup is great. I feel like on both teams, right? We already said that it's gonna be an exciting game no matter what, and you're looking at so much CC here on the cards. For the side of BLM, for example, you're looking at a Ornn, you've got a knock-up, you've got a bunch of passive stacks, you've got the ultimate Nautilus, you've got the hook, you've got the passive route as well. Renekton having that point-and-click stun in the mid lane. There's so much setup for both of these teams. On the side of Solaris, you got the Jarvan, which you already talked about, Sandbag. You got the Cho'Gath Rupture, which if comboed with that Flag and Drag can have such a long CC chain there, as well as the Silence. And with that Alistar, you have that knock-up as well down towards that bot lane, which just does mean that I feel like both of these teams are gonna want to play aggressive as hell. And you talked about the jungle matchup a little bit against the Jarvan, against the Viego versus the Jarvan. And who do you think wins the early game? Because I'm not entirely sure about this matchup for the side of Solaris.
Jarvan still wins it. He still has the early pressure and the early agency. It is more so translated into lane impact as opposed to 1v1. Like he's not going to be winning any fights down a couple hundred HP if his clear is down, or say he's out of a fight down bot lane and looks to try and extend it. Something akin to like your Wukongs and your Vi's that are just scrap, scrap, scrap early on. But he still does have the early agency. Viego, more so, he's reset bound, right? A huge amount of his power budget as a champion is on champion takedown. I basically get my HP bar back and your cooldowns and my ult back. So that is just a gigantic amount of power budget that he just doesn't have access to pre-6. So J4 does have the agency, he does have the impact, and he's going to look to get Dot rolling as we slide into Summoner's Rift for Game 1.
And speaking of rolling, we are finally here, baby. We finally get to see this Yasuo in action. But even more than that, we see the cowbell on the Rift early on. You can see both teams sort of encroaching on each other, seeing what they can find. Trophic looking for some early tier stacks on the Caliber, but the queue goes a little bit wide, unfortunately. I think it's a good job from Caliber to position a little bit more aggressively there, but looking at the runes and looking at the summoner spells as well, I'm not seeing really anything that's surprising or anything out of the ordinary, but we do see Dot with Exhaust, which I think is a very good pickup into this Renekton.
Absolutely, you honestly kind of need it. I suppose you do have your options towards that Ignite, but there's definitely situations where you're gonna take a combo one way or another, and having the exhaust can be the difference between life and death. It's a bit less aggressive though, so he might look to use that lethal tempo to kind of bridge the difference in DPS.
Definitely so, and I mean, it's a melee versus melee matchup, right? Like, you can't afford to just sit there all game and just gather XP, so definitely do need that exhaust. And so far, already seeing some trading in the mid lane. You see both junglers here starting on the top side. I would assume they wanna head down towards that bot lane, right? Like I talked about earlier, so much setup there. You have Wishy on this Nautilus, has that good hook, has the root as well. On the other side for Solaris, Killog on that Alistar is gonna be having that knock-up, is gonna be having the headbutt. And you can already see Lazy Panda skipping some camps, wants to get towards that bot side ASAP.
Level 2's coming through though. Flash Bulb and the headbutt knock in. This Nautilus is a long way from home. Exhaust has been dropped. They don't quite have the damage, and it ends up being a Hex Flash for Nautilus in return for both of Killog's sums.
I mean, you gotta take that, right? If you're inside of BLM, that is for sure worth. You get Kellogg's Exhaust, which, going on to a Nautilus, I'm not entirely sold on, and already we talked about this being a content-filled game. Early aggression coming through for the side of Solaris, and there is Denzer going for those aggressive trades with the PTA as well.
Yep. It is a bit of a flowchart when it comes to Renekton versus Yasuo. It is slice in, it is stun, it is Q, it is dice out. Congratulations, you win trade. And there's not a lot that Dot can do about it early on in this, unfortunately. So yeah, expect to see a lot of Yasuo taking the worst end of trades and being slowly whittled down by the Croc in the middle.
Definitely so, and mentally unstable as well, being around the mid lane, is gonna look for an invade, is going to find absolutely nothing in the bot side jungle. I wanna say though, good pathing from Panda here. Went to his bot side, knew that mentally unstable was gonna pass towards his bot lane, so this means he sort of gets the crab uncontested, because we talked about it earlier, right? In that 1v1, Viego should definitely win that out in the early game, and just doesn't want to fight the Viego, just wants to head on towards that top lane, and might look for a gank in the mid lane as well.
Yep, both junglers hovering. You see mentally unstable trying to lurk, but the timing is just a bit off. Unfortunately, Crocodile going to be finding himself in a 1 versus 2. EQ not landing from Lazy Panda means that it is Denzer looking to turn this around. Flash Spectral Maw in the wind wall. Dot's able to cover his jungler and get mentally unstable's flash as a result.
That is, I can't tell whether that's a really unlucky timing for mentally unstable or just a great wind wall coming out from Dot, right? And again, both of these teams fist fighting very early on, but you can just see Panda trying to influence that mid lane, the lane that we talked so much about. And both of these teams, both of these junglers are looking to make an impact, right? Because if Yasuo runs away, he can run away with this lane, but so can Denji, as we see Lazy Panda heading towards the top lane.
Yep, BLM may be in a bit of a situation here as he's pressed 10 under his tower. W trying to march his way forwards onto this Cho'Gath, but with 1 versus 2, can he find the trade kill? It is first blood going the way of this Cho'Gath, and quickly traded back on the bot lane. We snap our camera bot and find ourselves an equalizer as the flash comes out from Strophic under his own structure.
1-for-1 in opposite sides of the map, and I gotta admit, I do favor that trade for BLM very much so, because they should be able to pick up a Drake off the back end of that as well. And to me, a kill onto a Viego versus a kill onto Cho'Gath, I would take that any day of the week. And you could just see in the top lane, maybe trying to crash the wave, couldn't get there in time, gets ganked by Panda with an unlucky timing, but he could just make a return gank here. Panda in the top lane.
Ooh, okay, Tenno, he's not going to be able to go for this due to Cho's HP. I got a little bit nervous when 6 comes through. Yeah, if he finds himself on Vision, there's a world in which maybe he pulls the trigger, but Tenno gets his recall off. Level 6 was incoming, and he does get his way out as Kilog on a super secret stealth mission into enemy base for a deep ward.
I mean, I gotta respect it. That is the deepest vision I've seen in a while. Kilog already saying, I'm gonna abandon my Ezreal, but the Ezreal could be in trouble down in the bot lane.
As he finds himself engaged upon, it's going to be a march forwards. Caliber and his Nautilus, that's a no-doubter. And even before we hit that all-important 6, we find ourselves a kill down in the bot lane. Now looking towards mid. Kilog on his roam, finds the pull, finds the stun, the ultimate that he's been knocking this mid around like he's a beach ball. Finally getting the Crocodile's flash after his Dominus, thanks to the return of Lazy Panda.
And Kilog just doing an amazing job, right? He was missing for so long, they had no idea where the cow was, no idea where he could be, and just using that pressure to find himself a flash and a dominance onto this mid lane, which means for the next couple of minutes, Denzer is going to be in a pretty vulnerable position, not having his ultimate or his flash, and meanwhile in the bot side, Trophic just steps up a little bit too far, being in a 1v2, and a great punish coming out from the side of BLM.
Absolutely, trying to make sure they exploit those openings wherever they present themselves. And yes, I absolutely agree with the assessment. A kill on Viego is more valuable than a kill on a Cho'Gath, considering he is tank versus tank and up a 10 CS lead to his credit. And not a whole lot more as they look for the dive out of the tower. Headbutt pull combo gets Caliber's flash, shifting forwards with no fear. Strophic, but keep in mind, Kilog, once Caliber hits 6, is within threshold of being purely executed by Syndra.
That was a great flash coming out from Caliber, right? The response is so good. Kilog almost dying, but an invade for BLM.
Invade smites are available, 700 HP and swiped by Mentally Unstable. Now they'll look for Lazy Panda, but the blast cone's going to be the difference. Hook goes wide, and red buff acquired by the jungler BLM.
And BLM are just looking, right? They're just hunting. Black Manta seeing anything they can find in the top side jungle. Wishy in the top lane, I expect not to get much done as Tenno is gonna be full HP. Very hard to kill, and there should be a herald for the side of Black Manta with all of this top side pressure coming out.
Yeah, the big old dog pile pulling everybody but their, I was gonna say marksman, everyone but their bot laner up into the top side of the map here as Caliber looks to pick up the wave. Just try and scale it on out here, and with that neutral being collective in 2 minutes on the next one, I think it's a good moment to take stock of how these lanes are shaping up across the board.
And definitely so. So far, seeing a little bit of a gold lead for the side of Solaris in that top lane. And the jungle, gold lead for the side of Black Manta. No surprise there with the early kill that Mentally Unstable was able to pick up for himself, as Wishy might be running into a couple of people here. The bot side jungle, but should be completely fine and on in. I would like to see that Herald for the side of Black Manta personally go into that mid lane or into that bot lane. I feel like if you can get some gold into the scaling Caliber early on, you might be into that. Or if you want some more mid-game threat, some early game threat, give Denzer some of that gold, make sure he can finish his item earlier, and make sure that the plated steel caps that he got early on make a real difference.
Absolutely, and I will say there was one change after seeing the draft here is ult is available. Tenmo is actually in kill range. I can confirm Triple Brittle does kill Cho there, but he does not pull the trigger. Instead, I expect to see a Randuin's Omen picked up as we hold this. There's a fight in the bot lane. Didn't even see Lazy Panda. It's the scat of the week to Swades. What I expected to happen, but an emphasis on Randuin's Omen because there is 0 AP threats on the side of this red team.
Definitely so, and that can be very scary as well, right? But so many good flashes coming out from both teams, getting them out of sticky situations, and this does mean that I feel like the side of Solaris are on a timer, right? When you look at these full AD comps, you generally tend to think that when people pick up things like the Ornn, it can be very scary to play against later stages into the game, and there's the Herald I was speaking about earlier is gonna be looking at Denzer, but a fight in the bot lane.
A long depth charge is going to force Strophic out of the fight as Kellogg gets mopped up in the meantime. Depth charge just an inch short of the knock-up here with that hook not connecting. Anchor sails just a bit wide, and Strophic is able to stay on his feet.
Definitely so, and again, both teams just trading hits in and out. So far, Kellogg has not been a fond member of those hits. 0-2 so far. We should see a plate go the way of Caliber, but with the gold as well being picked up in the mid lane with that Rift Herald, Denzer should be a little bit ahead here. But this mid lane matchup, we talked about this being pretty Renekton favored, but so far 0-0-0 on both sides, and I feel like Dot has done a great job of just holding out, picking up as much CS as he can, and being even in CS as well against the Renekton, against the cheeky pick on the side of the LM.
I would give credit where it's due. Dot doing a good job of holding what can be a very tough matchup, but unfortunately, the flip side of that is it was live by the Yasuo, die by the Yasuo, and right now that Yasuo is, I mean, he's living, but he's not thriving per se, as one to find the thrive, the silence to make sure he can't W. BLM may be forced to flash his way away from Lazy Panda's fight, and now they look on the other side of the map, possible engage, but instead just gonna back it on out.
Going to back out for now, but Black Manta invading very aggressively again into this top side. Panda could be in trouble.
Try to find the lurk over the wall here. A bit of a split call. Mentally Unstable walking backwards. Denzer slicing over the wall. The Rupture not connecting, but hunkering underneath top turret. 3 versus 2 and no reinforcements. They have themselves a new member joining, but instead, bit of a bonk on the wall. Just throwing up a little bit of oppression and then marching his way right back bot lane is now Caliber the one under fire. Scat of the week expended. Combo can be popped here as they flash, they pull, they find their way, and the Summoner expended everything he has left in the tank, but Caliber stays standing.
Caliber lives, and I would have liked to see Kellogg, I feel like, commit to a little bit more. He popped the ultimate, the flash, and everything to try to find that kill. Wishy now, gonna be engaged on.
Trying to turn their way onto Nautilus, Lazy Panda junglers en route. It is going to be Nautilus chunked down to half HP before the fight starts, but electing to call it off and head back into the jungle is the Jarvan.
Both of these teams are just... I'm seeing flashes burned left, right, and center, right? But then there's just nothing being done, I feel like, with the flashes while they are on cooldown. Both teams are just so scared to enter into a full-on brawl, into a full-on fight, right? Because depending on how that fight goes, it can very much so decide this early game with the explosive comps that both of these teams have, right? If this Yasuo gets a couple of kills, he could absolutely pop off. Same thing with the Ezreal, same thing with the Renekton. Caliber already got a couple of kills under his belt, so if he picks up a couple more, gets it one step closer to his tier 2 boots, one step closer to that Shadow Flame that he's trying to get, it could very much blow up the game very quickly. So I do have to give props to both teams for sort of saying, look, we don't need to necessarily accelerate the game, we're just gonna chill here, and we're just gonna take it at our own pace.
Yep, nice and easy going here. BLM, I feel, do win out when it comes to the scaling. Yes, they do have some threats on the other side, but it comes down to a matter of might have to hold that as Lazy Panda. Flash Spectral Maw, the point click CC. They don't even let him flash as Jarvan dead on his own red buff respawn.
Beautiful invade coming out from Black Manta again. They've been hunting in that top side jungle as Wishy almost hits that hook into the mid lane. Dot felt like he didn't need to win ball that, he knew exactly the hitbox of Nautilus hook, which is a little bit impressive because I feel like half the time I don't know the hitbox of Nautilus hook. We've all been there when it misses about half a mile, and Rito still says like, yeah, that one hit, we know, don't worry, it's okay. But so far, finally find Panda in his topside jungle, the person they've been looking for so long, and Black Manta are just playing this game so aggressively in that top side, as Caliber could be in trouble in the bot lane.
Yeah, we have ult, we have EQ, just dropping the barrel on his head. Caliber's got to try and dance as best he can to prolong the inevitable, but shutdown comes through nonetheless. Unfortunately to Jarvan as opposed to Ezreal, but at the end of the day, they got what they came for.
Definitely, so a shutdown is a shutdown, although I do agree with you, Sandbag. Would have liked to see that one go over to Trophic maybe a little bit more than Lazy Panda, but this should be a first tower picked up unless Black Manta want to do something about it.
Looks like a fight brewing here. 3 versus 3, mentally unstable, looking to pull the trigger, but just EQing to safety is the Panda, and instead it fizzles once more. Drake posturing has begun.
Has begun indeed, and I feel like Solaris, again, they got what they wanted, right? They got that bot lane tier 1, that was their game plan, chooses to just back out as we have a TP in the bot lane.
Shelly summoned, the TPs fly through, we got a full 5v5 stare down. We're gonna have some action here, 3-man headbutt pull, ends it before it even starts, as Red Team jumps their way to an early lead, trying to turn this around, but they're fighting in the choke against Caliber and the Ornn. Denzer tanking up everyone and holding for as less as he possibly can. It is Maybe, and it is the mid laner looking to try and return this one around. Lazy Panda going for the wraparound with Killo, but they just don't have any follow-up. Tenno getting whittled by the Drake, the Hex Portal for the long chase, and this Dino is going to be hunted out of the back of the river.
Even Dragon wanted a piece of that, right? He said, let me in on this, try to take out Tenno, but a beautiful team fight coming out from both teams, right? Caliber making his way over a little bit later than they would have liked to, and again, just the choke point favors the side of Black Manta, right? You have an Ornn, you have a Renekton who loves these sort of tight areas, loves these tight paces, and I got a question, right? If Caliber was there maybe a second earlier or half a second earlier, would have they took that fight more cleanly? Potentially so. There should be a Drake as well going over to the side of Black Manta, and the big winner of that fight is gonna be Black Manta, right? 2 kills over to Denzer as well as some kills over to Caliber as we take a look at the replay, and again, just all the wombo combo hitting from both teams. Denzer lives for so long. Caliber trying to clean up. Panda living with an inch of his life, and Kellogg as well just gets bonked on the head by Maybe's Brittle. And Tenno flash over the wall is gonna get him over onto safety, but a good job from the side of BLM.
It's also a little bit awkward there at the end when the Sunfire aggroed Drake and shoved him back towards Caliber. If he had a rotation ready, he would have been able to finish the job that the Dragon started. But unfortunately, no CDs available. It means that the Dino will waddle his way to safety. But at the end of the day, like you said, Denzer picking up a couple of kills and BLM moving to Soul Point. Feels like Solaris are on a timer. They gotta get something going or they're simply just gonna run out of road.
Definitely so, and you talked about it earlier, right? Like Black Manta being the team that has the better scaling, being the team that has to go up against this full AD threat on the side of Solaris, right? That we have a fight here on the top side.
Yeah, it's Juggernaut beating on a tank here. Lazy Panda is going to be the difference maker as he throws out the Cataclysm. Dominus has been popped, but he's knocked up all the same. Trying to move in with the Viego, trying to turn their attention around. They don't have the juice, and the Renekton comes out on top. Lazy Panda with 100 HP to his name is going to be dove under his own tower. Finished off and possessed. Kellogg next up. They feed in one by one to the meat grinder as now they're setting their sights on the alley. Maybe you find some sort of displacements. Maybe you find some sort of magic. But instead, he finds himself on the summoning platform as 3 kills go the way of BLM.
It is a conveyor belt of Solaris members. Like, look how this fight unfolds himself. Mentally unstable and Denzer starting it off. Panda being 1 HP there. Almost lives, but this time mentally unstable says, you got away with it last time, not gonna get away with it this time. Takes him out and just what's going in one by one. Like you said it yourself, Kellogg trying to save his jungler there. But just ultimate ends up burning on out and he just gets taken out as well. And just the side of Solaris not feels like they aren't on the same page in that top lane fight, and the side of Black Manta just slowly but surely gaining themselves a lead, right? 4,000 gold. This Viego getting pretty fed himself as well at 3-1 so far as both teams again are encroaching each other in the top side jungle.
Yeah, another red buff invade. This time Lazy Panda knew, get it early. Don't let it sit there. Swipe this away. They want it so bad. Do not let them have it. And he does actually secure 1 of 3. He had 2 stolen as the EQ does not connect. Headbutt Pole on the other hand does. They find a 2-man engage from the Yasuo. Ezreal over the top and they find their shutdown. 1 down for the side of BLM and the TP here to make it a no-doubter. They push BLM back. Enough of the red steals. We want ours back.
Dot is finally making a difference, right? Finally, the setup they've been talking about comes through. Baron is gonna be started by Solaris. Can Caliber, can Denzer make the difference here as the 3-man?
Low take, though, as Strophic isn't able to put the DPS into the Drake. He's trying to whittle his way through the ore and call the Forge Gods can be blocked up by the wind walls. Now Lazy Panda's holding the front line. Enzer is able to pick up the first kill. Do they have the damage? Eyes on the Ezreal and the Caliber. These 2 carries trying to whittle their way through the front lines. It is maybe holding better for now. Mystic Shots finding their targets as he shifts forwards, trying to finish it off, and he does. It is now up to the Ezreal. Dredgeline connecting, waiting for that silence to peter on out, but the Ezreal comes out, trumps. Beautifully done from Strophic as he knocks down 4 BLM members. They pull off the Drake, but they pull off the team fight win.
Trophic coming in huge there, and look at this team fight unfold. Just Trophic, keep your eyes on this Ezreal. DPS out the wazoo right here. Maybe as well almost finding the play for himself. The scatter was beautiful, and I want to point out the silence at the end. Caliber picks up the ball, the silence comes through, and he just can't do anything with it. It lasted so long. Trophic just gets to DPS him down, gets enough damage, and Tenno making all the difference there in that back end, because if Caliber gets that off, gets to take out Trophic, who knows where that might would have gone.
Certainly. So Tenmo, yes, Strophic gets the glory, but Tenmo gets the credit, in my opinion, as the knockup connects. They don't want to pull the trigger on Nautilus wisely, but look at the Hex Flash. Kellogg looking to set things off once more. They've had their taste, and they're looking for another.
This is big. This is very big for both teams. Soul Point, not even Soul Point, Soul for the side of Black Manta, potentially a Hextech Soul as well onto Caliber would be dangerous. Both teams eyeing each other in the bot
Forward
later.
flank. So far, calling the Forge God, waiting for that engage, but it's Windwalled once more. Doesn't have the big tool available. Tenmo holding back 3 on the left-hand side, but the 2-man knockup from the mid. He is going to be fighting his way through this mentally unstable on the retreat now. Solari find their moment to turn it around, and they look to clean up. They've already claimed 2. They finish off the 3rd. It is Caliber, head in his hands, running for his life, but the Ezreal's got a red. Triple kill over to him. Gonna make it another for his mid. The ace comes through 5-0, and the game is on its head.
We were talking about the Yasuo, right? But this is a support Yasuo, 119, and Trophic just making all the difference. Looking back at this team fight, the knockup is good. A little bit of an unfortunate combo from Kellogg there, ends up knocking Caliber away instead of into his team, but you can just see the amount of damage Trophic has. Like Caliber tried to make his way out and just watched his team fall beneath his feet. Wishy as well nowhere to go at the back end of that. But Sandbag, the big win here is for Solaris, and the big win is the denial of that soul.
The big win is everything on the map, man. They pick up Baron, they pick up 5-0, they pick up Drake, they pick up the jungle. They get literally everything that you can possibly claim, and the gold lead to boot. They have just about everything that they can claim simultaneously, and turning this game from what felt like was sliding away from them to a minor, arguably, lead for themselves.
And Black Manta as well. Remember, this was a team earlier on that was ahead by about 3,000 gold. Suddenly, it's Solaris who are ahead in gold, and both teams just eyeing up this mid lane tower.
Trying to find the engage, but his Hex Flash got cancelled, it appears. He's not going to be able to dive into those backlines. Trying to deal with the Baron. Gonna be another engage looked for. Dens are out on the side here. They find their way onto Cho'Gath and trying to work front to bath. They burn a couple of big cooldowns here. Caliber's ultimate committed for roughly 2/3 of the Cho's HP.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where that ultimate came from. Remember, Baron buff on the side of Solaris as well, which means Tenno just gets his 4-second base, gets to recall, and says, okay, so now what? Heads back into the top lane, and this Cho'Gath, not necessarily will you want to be looking with the Syndra ultimate. And yes, you do have a Shadow Flame in your inventory, but I feel like you need a hell of a lot more.
Dog pile incoming. Alistair is going to be whittled away. He is CC'd for an hour and a half. 3-man knockup on the other half, but the Unbreakable Will providing so much flat redux. Kellogg, despite taking 4 members and 3 days of CC, loses 1/3 of his HP.
Kellogg takes 4 members of Black Manta at the same time and still just walks out like nothing happened, just because of the sheer power of the Alistar ultimate, right? Making him so tanky. And so far, you did talk earlier about Solaris being able to pick up everything on the map, and now there's nothing else left to pick up except these towers, except the slow objectives coming through. No dragon, no baron for at least the next 2 minutes, right? Next dragon is gonna be huge, gonna be a Hextech dragon. Don't trust the spectate tool, it's a little bit buggy. It's a Hextech dragon, not an Infernal dragon, as we do see both teams just looking, eyeing. And Sandbag, I feel like we're one team fight away from this game just blowing up into our hands and giving one of these teams a sizable lead.
Oh, absolutely. Either one of these. It doesn't even have to be a convincing 5-0, but either team looking for a lead is going to be such a difference. This is such a tipping point. Yes, Solari find their fight, their 5-0, and they pick up every neutral on the map. Let me be clear about that, right? It was the Baron, it was the Drake, it was the jungle, but they didn't really invade territory. They got the neutrals, but they did not get many of what BLM were defending. So that is what they're looking for next if they pull off another fight. And on the other side, BLM are looking to haul this one back in and try and clean up what was this Solari insurrection.
And I mean, definitely so. The thing that they picked up with the Baron, tier 1 in the mid lane, tier 1 in the top lane, as well, just some gold, not really encroaching. A good comes scary for a moment, but Kellogg is gonna be half. Oh, that's a lot of damage coming out from Caliber.
No.
Oh no.
That's actually such a big deal. Such a big deal. I'm not sure if it was on Vision that would make it so much worse, but now he doesn't have that instant no button to Caliber's ultimate and has to play so much safer. Yes, 3-item Ezreal, but now does not have heal, does not have any sort of shielding to absorb what is guaranteed damage if Caliber finds it.
Definitely so, and that could be the big thing, right? Both these teams looking.
To kick it off here. So no, marching forwards, not able to connect the rupture, mentally unstable. He wants this backline. Scout of the week finding the Alistair once more. Tanks trading HP, but no carry so far. 2-man knock-up. Cataclysm onto the back lines. They're kicking it off here and now. Killo throwing out that unbreakable will as Denzer's forced backwards. Red team has a sizable advantage in this one. Denzer cut down as they find their way for the 1-for-1. Mentally unstable, getting his first reset. Now has to look to wreak havoc on his own. Alistair's going to be summoned up himself. But it is finally the Yasuo's time to shine as he cuts through the back line. He finishes off this Nautilus. Strophic is here to provide the cleanup. 4 men down for BLM in trade for just the sacrificial calf. And all of a sudden, Solaris feel like they're taking this game by the reins.
And Dot comes up huge, right? Like, look at the backline access. The fight looks so good for the side of BLM at the start, right? But look at Dot, the way he just enters this backline, mentally unstable, finally getting a reset for himself and getting that ultimate onto the Nautilus, takes out Wishy, takes out maybe at the end of the day as well, and Trophic just being the backline damage, being the exact DPS the side of Solaris need, which it feels to me like Black Manta don't have a response to this Ezreal. They don't know what to do with all this range, all these items that Trophic has in his inventory.
Yeah, that's 3 consecutive times that the one big tool that Solaris have in the team fights is the wind wall answering Ornn ult. Every single time, this has been maybe trying to get this fight started with the Ornn ult, and Dot simply wind walling it. Just saying, nope, I trade my 14-second cooldown for your 90-second cooldown, and then we team fight. Every single time he's not been able to get that off, and as a result, that's genuinely set themselves off on such a nice foot.
And I mean, that's the power of Yasuo into the Ornn, right? Similar to the Braum as well as Holt. I thought both of these teams looking.
Nautilus, he's caught himself a long way from the support of his team as Strophic goes legendary. And with the support dropping, 4 versus 5 on the map, BLM might look to have to defend this short-handed.
Definitely looking to do so. Baron now 4000 HP. This should be an easy pickup for Solaris, but the big question is there gonna be a response on the side of Black Manta? Denzer is gonna be looking, but is very scared without the Nautilus.
Oh, finding its way on the Caliber. Cataclysm trapping them both in. They're locked and they're charged at. They finally get their way back in. It is maybe Under Fire who's forced from the oncoming tides of Solaris. But the red team finds their moment, and they are not stopping off the back of one big team fight. They double it up, they triple it up, and it is mentally unstable, looking to try and just cut the wave and stall.
And I mean, look at the wave in the bot lane though, right? Like, I was exactly gonna bring this up. They don't need the wave in the mid lane. Screw that. Go to the bot lane. Just end the game through bot. And what a show this has been from the side of Solaris. A team that I thought would not be able to hold up to Black Manta is just squashing them under their foot like a bug.
5 seconds on Caliber, but they find the dive onto the Nexus turrets. The first one falls, the second one is next, and Strophic and his Sheen finishes the job. 24-13, Solaris turn it on its head and pick up game 1.
Beautiful work from Trophic, right? I have to give this Ezreal so many props for the performance here, and it's just so good to see the side of Solaris, right? So good to see what they can bring out onto the table, and I mean, Trophic and Dot actually picking themselves up a very good performance there. Lazy Panda as well doing a beautiful job, even despite all the top lane pressure in his jungle, even despite everything that Black Manta threw out at him. Still might have lost a couple of red buffs, but I don't think Panda is gonna mind trading a couple of red buffs for the Nexus of Black Manta.
The Nexus for red buff trades. Not the greatest trade deal in the history of trade deals, if I do say so myself. But yeah, I gotta say it. the draft came together in the end. It was what felt like an uphill battle, and it proved to be an uphill battle multiple times. But when you find that one team fight, that 1-5-0, that's just all you really needed to get your fates turned and pick up game one, looking to double it up. But what that does mean is, unfortunately, I am going to be dipping on out of here in for a substitution. The last of me looking to push this one forwards into our next series. Thank you very much. We are going to be cutting into a quick break to get this new caster in, locked and loaded. Make sure to give him a warm welcome. Thank you very much. And we will see you guys right after the break.
Welcome back, everybody, to game number 2 between Black Manta and Solaris. And like Sandbag said before the break, we have a change of cast, a change of scenery on the desk. It's gonna be Algren joining with me for this game number 2. He saw the game number 1. He was like so excited he couldn't wait. He said, "Get me in here," and now he has joined us as well. But Algren, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am indeed just dropping in for the second game here, and then the series afterwards, I think as well. Kind of like bailing out Sandbag. He couldn't handle it anymore. Too much action, I guess, because I saw there was a lot of blood in this last game. So that seemed pretty exciting to me, and I hope I'm gonna get more of that in game 2, though.
I mean, definitely so, and it was the Giga pick. What we thought was a Giga pick, the counter pick into the Yasuo, right? The Renekton not working out so much for the side of Black Manta, and of course, I'm very much open for a lot more excitement in game number 2, as we have 2 quick AD carry picks coming out.
Oh, this is going really fast.
Flying through the draft.
B1 Ashe responded immediately with a Kog'Maw Braum. Kog'Maw Braum, I think if you follow pro play a little bit, I think this is something that we've seen a lot being picked by G2, and almost no pro team had an answer to it apparently, but that could have just been because G2 just plays it really well and play around this really well. But I do think this is a very scary lane because you can't really hit the Kog'Maw through the Braum shield, so there's a lot of protection being put towards it, but it does really show that Black Manta right now, I think the last game they drafted themselves, I believe they were on with the Syndra bot lane, correct me if I'm wrong there, Tessa? Yeah. So I think one of their weaknesses actually looked like, to me, I wasn't following it in too much detail, but it looked like they just lacked the consistent damage to deal with both an Alistar and a very tanky Cho'Gath. So they really just say like, okay, screw that, let's just pick some really nice hyper carry, get him behind a big fat shield, and just have a consistent AD carry damage to get us through this next game. And now we're gonna see some responses here with Rakan and Viego. I believe that was on the side of Black Manta before though, right?
Yeah. Definitely so, and last time, like you said in game number 1, it was the Viego that was on the side of Black Manta this time around. Solaris said, hey, let me take a crack at that Viego, steals it over from Mentally Unstable, and Mentally Unstable having a very aggressive game for himself in that last game. Ended up spending a lot of time in Panda's topside jungle, and this time around we are going to see the Ornn as blind pick in that top lane. A lot of the same champions we saw that game coming through, but Kog'Maw is a champion we often do not see in SLE, and they're actually just gonna ban the Yasuo on the side of Black Manta.
So far this draft seems to go, I think, really well for Black Manta. I think they've got pretty much everything that they can hope for, you know, the support to protect the Kog'Maw, the hyper carry tank top lane with Ornn, which is just giving you so much more scaling as well. I'm a little bit confused personally at the Rakan pick, because even if Rakan gets on top of Kog'Maw, the Braum can just jump in front and you can't really follow up. Yes, there's a bit of lockdown in it, but it doesn't really stop the Kog'Maw that long, and especially in lane, Braum passive really can stop a Rakan really hard. Like, he has to get out immediately after he engaged, or he's gonna get stunned up and lose almost all of his life. And then you also drafted the Viego, but into this Ornn, it's gonna look really rough because you have to kill the Kog'Maw anyway, right? Because there's nobody else you can kill. There's nobody else's body that you could steal right now. So they need themselves, I think, a little bit more of good tank shred right now. And with the Ashe is not really the best at doing so. Like, you're more looking at more of Kai'Sa or Vayne with that percent max health damage. But with Ashe locked in right now, I'm kind of curious to see what other responses we're going to see in other lanes. And I'm a little surprised that Black Manta did not ban the Gwen, because I think that is actually kind of a famous counter pick against Ornn, and it does fit the description of killing tanks with the percent max health damage as well as true damage. So I believe that should be kind of a no-brainer for Solaris. And we still have yet to see what the jungle is going to be as response to the Viego on the side of Black Manta, which I'm expecting to be locked in around here, which is going to be a Nunu. Okay, that's a fun one.
Interesting, a Nunu coming out from the side of Black Manta, and a Gwen would be a phenomenal pick, I feel like, for the side of Solaris. It is good into the Kog'Maw as well. Kog'Maw known for having a lot of range with that W, and once you press that W, go into your presses Hallowed Mist, and then all that range sort of doesn't matter because you can't attack the Gwen anyway. I'm not entirely sure if the side of Solaris are gonna end up playing it, or if Tenno even is a proficient Gwen player. Gwen obviously is a champion that you can't just sort of first time, right? You need to know how to play that champion. You need to know the ins and outs, especially in matchups like the Ornn. And Tenno, I mean, looking at it, it seems to be like his most played champions are the Cassante and the Ornn. So definitely prefers and enjoys more of those tanks alongside that line. And it'll be interesting to see if the Gwen does come out. And there's the Cassante I was talking about earlier. And how does this Cassante pick make you feel?
I mean, it does have some percent max health damage, I think, from his passive, but how are you ever getting to Kog'Maw? If he does get on top of him, it has to be with Flash and the movement speed from Orianna and all the other lockdown, but it then I do think that the Kog'Maw's out of position, because the Xante should never get close to you with this Braum shielding you and this Lulu being in front of you, which is probably going to use his ultimate or Snowball to disrupt him, so I personally, I think he just wants to have a fine lane in top lane, and I can get behind that idea, but I think that a Gwen would have been so much better because you're opting into team fights, for which I think Black Manta already picked up 3 of the best pieces they could have, and they're gonna round it out now also with an AD, a heavy AD source of damage in the Tristana as well. And I really like this Tristana pickup here because I think Orianna just kinda cannot lean into this. Orianna has no dashes, no escapes. Tristana can just jump on top of you and chunk you for almost all of your health very early on, and it enables her to roam around on the map, which is going to make it so much easier for this Nunu to get off other ganks, because even if Viego tries to match a Nunu gank, which can come at almost any point at any time, because we know that Nunu can just run a snowball even at level 2, and this Viego wants to answer, well, he has to keep thinking about the fact that Tristana, especially in the early levels, is probably always going to be right behind him as well. So you create these 4v3 in these side lanes, or like 3v2, I guess, in top lane. I think I think the draft for Black Manta looks really good. That is, if they can, of course, execute it.
Definitely. So an execution going to be a big key and a big part of this game number 2. And so far it is gonna be Solaris who took that game number 1. They do have the advantage going into this matchup. They have the momentum going into this game number 2. And I will admit, I'm 100% on board. I think Black Manta have a draft here, which doesn't seem really that hard to execute. Just make sure the Kog'Maw lives. Make sure this double AD carry on the side of Black Manta get to dish out the DPS, get to dish out the damage. Try the Tristana in the mid lane as well is generally known for being able to get that prio, being able to sort of just go into lanes. And like you said, if it's something like an Orianna, if it is something like a Victor, just sort of just jump on their head and bonk them with the bomb and then just run away with half of their HP already taken.
Yeah, I think when I see the first 3 picks of Solaris, I would have expected them to afterwards just kind of pivot into like playing for 1-3-1. You know, pick up yourself that Gwen, pick up yourself another one of the strong solo laners in mid lane that kind of can pop off in side laning. For example, something like a Yone. You know, I think that would have been a nice pivot for you, so you can kind of like pressure up the enemy, push them under their tower, and then look with the Ash Vision, with the Ash Arrow, and the Rakan lockdown to get these pickoffs, so that this Viego can get a kill in the jungle, can transform, and then once he does transform, you really don't want to even retaliate as Black Manta if the enemy has found that first pickup. So I think that would have been a more interesting draft strategy, but they've opted now into kind of matching the scaling of Black Manta, but they're doing this with an Orianna right now. I'm not really the biggest fan of this pick because it takes quite long for this Orianna to come online, and I think there's a very risky strategy here that you can see the combo coming through, right? Like the Rakan can just lock down this Kog'Maw, and then you're gonna pass the Orianna ball to him, and then just ult on top of the Kog'Maw. But however, I think if your Braum steps in between right in time, and the Rakan ball or the Orianna ball is gonna get passed through the shield, I'm not sure if it actually still gets to Rakan, and it might just pop back to Orianna because it is counted as a projectile. So I think that is a very interesting interaction. I kind of want to know, because the Braum shield could completely deny the wombo combo.
Yeah, it could do. I will tell you now, I honestly have no idea. I do not know enough about Braum Shield or Oriana in that matters for me to at least tell you how it goes or how that interaction does end up working out. League of Legends tends to be quite funny with some of their interactions regardless. Like I at least, we saw in the game earlier, I don't know if it was yesterday or a couple of days ago, we saw Volibear jump over the wall which is something I had no idea that was in the game or existed. So definitely some fun interactions that generally not a lot of people know about. But so far, I am expecting for the side of Black Manta to sort of just chill in the early game. I feel like, yeah, they have a Nunu by their side, but Nunu not necessarily going to be forced to make any plays. I assume it will be a tank Nunu coming out from the side of Black Manta, but who do you say is more likely to take this game number 2, Algren? Do you think Solaris have the momentum from game number 1 with this draft they have, or do you think Black Manta is gonna even up the series?
So you never know, of course. I think you can always surprise in lanes. Maybe the Xanthi just ends up solo killing the Ornn 3 times. He just takes over lane. Maybe the Orianna's actually not getting pressured at all by the Tristana, and she kind of can just lane fine, and Tristana doesn't get any roams off. But I think purely based on draft, I just can't really see how you lose this game, because you say that they want to chill, but with Tristana and Nunu, you can play very aggressively on this bot lane. Yes, it's Rakan who's quite slippery, but his Ashe is not. She can't get out. Yes, she has some slows, but until level 6, she cannot stop the Nunu ball. Rakan, if he wants to stop the Nunu ball, I think he will always get stunned before he even gets to land a knockup on the Nunu, unless he finds a really, really weird angle on this. But I think anyone who's getting caught in bot lane there by this Nunu stun is immediately going to get tagged by the Braum slow as well. And if like 2 auto attacks land from one from Nunu, one from Braum, and one from Kog'Maw, he's stunned, and they think they just pop because both Rakan and Ashe have no health pools to tank that much early game damage. And then there's always the Tristana roams who can actually play for dives as well. So I think this bot lane, I think from Solaris, they need to be really, really wary of those Nunu ganks, because I think that could completely demolish them, at least in the early game. And then when you go late game, I think if you just group as 5 with Black Manta, I don't see how you lose these team fights. I think the Viego can't walk up. The only one who can is K'Sante, but you're going to have to get through so much damage, consistent damage from both Tristana and a Kog'Maw. So I think it looks really rough personally when I look at Solaris' draft.
Definitely so, and I mean execution is the key word, right? We talked about a little bit with Sandbag about this in that number 1 draft, but execution and ease of play are often words and sentences that comes to my mind at least when I think of sort of SLE and I think of some of these more mid-tier leagues, not necessarily pro play, not necessarily LEC, LCS, but ease of execution. How easy your comp is to execute, right? Like how easily do these champions interact with each other? How easily can you make your champion interact with the other champions on the field? And ease of execution, I must admit, is on the side of Black Manta, I feel like. If you look at Solaris, champions like Viego, champions like Orianna, K'Sante, Rakan, these champions require for your team to work together as a unit. The champions require for your team to be on the same page, especially with that Orianna Rakan combo that you mentioned up earlier, right? Like if you can get that Rakan into the back line, if you can get that shockwave onto those weak members, great, right? Like, that's amazing. But it requires so much teamwork and so much coordination. And on the side of Solaris, it is something that, in my opinion, they have struggled with in the past, right? Even when they draft into these comps that require that teamwork and that sort of togetherness, they seem to a little bit just fall flat. But of course, they do have that momentum of that game number 1 behind them, right? The game that they ended up taking, I would argue, was a very strong performance from them, and something that, to me, something we're not used to seeing from Quantify. Maybe this rebranding of them, no longer being Quantify, now being Solaris Eris, is exactly what they needed to come together as a team, exactly what they need to come together as a unit and just make magic happen on the Rift.
Well, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes where a rebrand is making you play completely differently and so much better. And if that is the case, then maybe some name changes every other day would do well for my solo queue as well. But I don't know. I think when you look at throughout the season, though, like if you've struggled before, I think the benefits of the Swiss system are that every other week should technically be easier if you've been losing in the beginning, and it only becomes harder if you're winning. So I think both these teams are kind of like on a similar skill level. So I think when it comes to ease of execution, you shouldn't be contested as much as if you were winning in the beginning of the split. So this is definitely a good opportunity for both of these teams to show that they can like perform and that they're not one of the weakest, not the weakest in the league at least. So there we go as we're actually getting into the game, and I think we're gonna see a very standard start to the game where I see a 5-point coming out for both sides here. Not too much happening. I do think that there would be an angle for Black Manta though, like you have a Tristana who can jump forward to follow up on a Bromstone if you do attack somebody, but they're gonna opt into just playing it defensive and safe, as I guess that's toward the point you were saying earlier, right? Like they can just chill and wait for the late game. They have the Kog'Maw and they have an Ornn, so if you go late, it looks very good. And on the other end, you've got, they actually could have done some early game shenanigans as well. Like it is an Ashe with the slow. There's a Rakan with the jump. I think some of the, I think if you've watched some LEC or something, you watch some Hylissang, there's some very creative invades you can do with Rakan. But so far, not a lot of action. Just 2 wards down into the jungle entrances so that this Nunu is not going to lose anything to the Viego.
Definitely. So, and I mean, some action did end up happening, in that top lane river. We saw maybe putting on the moves versus Tenno, and I definitely think that I would, between them two, I think Ornn personally does have the better moves and does do more of the dancing prowess than the Cassante, at least in my opinion. But Ornn always known for his smooth moves in
I
and
don't know
out
the
of the river
Cassante
as well.
hands. What are those moves?
I think he
Describe
just swings his arms around in a frantic fashion. Kind of like Asante players, They just swing their arms around and hit their buttons and hope something happens, and often ends up leading into magic.
Oh, I thought the gameplay for Cassandra would look more like you just drop your head on your keyboard and you roll it around after you've pressed R. I thought it was something more like that to just get kills, but yeah, no swinging around your arms just as well, I guess. But now we're getting into the game, and I think Cassandra has been doing some good swinging as we see a little bit of a health lead building in the top lane. As an advantage towards Cassandra. I do think the lane should definitely be in the favor of Cassandra, but we all know how strong Ornn gets once he gets his level 6, and he can just kind of, all of a sudden, he kind of has like a 100-0 combo. So very good early ward also coming out here for the side of Solaris. It will spot out the Nunu, and I think he's prepping to do a snowball gank, potentially, but he's spotted out early on already, so the Viego's walking up here who actually has a level advantage. So there could be maybe a fight happening early on, and that might be really bad for the Nunu, but he's just gonna turn around as he's going to look for his level 3. He has done 3 camps, but just a little bit of information. The Raptors and your 2 buffs are not enough to get level 3, so he's gonna have to pick this drop.
Definitely showing great awareness coming out from Solaris, right? You already brought it up with that ward in that bot side river, but Nunu, known as a champion for his early shenanigans, can do so much, like you mentioned, in draft with that snowball in these early levels, and definitely you need this deep vision, right? If you have that bot lane bush warded, yeah, that's cool, but the time you see him coming, it's gonna be too damn late. And that snowball is gonna be so big, it's gonna hit you in the face no matter what. Summoners are gonna be burnt, and that is good to see coming out from Solaris, as we do see Lazy Panda potentially a gank in this bot lane. But the side of Black Manta, now that something is up wishy, he's gonna try to keep Caliber alive here. You can see Panda is looking for Caliber. A little bit of a questionable flash coming out from the combo, but a flash nonetheless, and Caliber is gonna be burning his flash very early on into the game.
I think it's a respectable flash there. I think he was expecting the Viego to maybe flash over the Braum to still land a stun on the Kog'Maw and then have this follow-up from their Rakan. They have really good kill pressure on Solaris as well, as we're gonna see in first Nunu rolling the snowball towards the Orianna.
Gank in the mid lane, Dot is gonna be under threat. Bomb comes down, snowball comes down, but it should just be able to walk away fine, and already mentally unstable, putting that early pressure we talked about with that Nunu pick.
Yeah, definitely some pressure coming down here. He didn't quite lose his flash just yet, so that's really nice here for the side of Dot. As Denser, he doesn't run the Kneel of Blades there, so he doesn't have that much early game burst, so he's not going to land that bomb immediately. Because if you do have the Yellow Blades, the early game, the burst from this bomb is coming out really fast. He's opted into a lethal tempo build, so he's kind of looking more towards scaling. And in the meantime, I think we've seen nice pressure on bot lane, surmounting in the beginning of a bit of a CS lead here on the side of the Ashe. However, you do have the Cull on the side of the Kog'Maw, so if nothing other than, if it just ends up being CS, and it might still just be, you can fall behind a little bit of CS here on this Kog'Maw and not really fall behind in gold. So all things considered, things are just looking fine. And we're just kind of taking out this game a little bit slower.
Definitely so, and Cole gives you a great spike into that mid game, right? The 450 gold that comes in generally tends to help you along a lot. We do see both of the junglers meeting up in the bot side river. Lazy Panda is going to be looking for the stun, a good sidestep coming out from mentally unstable. Now the root is going to be coming down. Who can get here first? So far it's looking like both teams are moving on in, but Black Manta are going to be the one with the bot lane coming into this river. Could potentially be a dragon started up. You can see them hovering towards that as Lazy Panda is just going to be forced to walk away, and they should be first dragon without any contesting going to the side of Black Manta.
Yeah, really nice first advantage there. Like, speaking about scaling, if you can also start stacking on those extra percentage buffs, you'll feel even especially nice on these scaling champions. You'll just get a little bit of response here, but Diego's not quite near, so this you have to consider that there's no way they can contest it. It's just too much securing for the side of Nuno, as we do start fight though.
New fight. Grand Entrance is going to find two now. Kellogg is going to be the first one to go down. That's get away with 1 HP, but it's going to be finished off by Caliber. A jump forward from Denzer is going to get some damage down onto Trophy, but should just be able to walk away with the Ghost popped on the Ash, and it's going to be Black Manta who come out with the Drake, come out with 2 kills, and come out huge in the first fight.
I think it's a little bit questionable here. The Drake was already very, very low, and the Viego was still very far away. They don't even see him anywhere near, so I guess we're just waiting for the cooldown here for Nuno. He does go really low, but because of the sustain that comes through, he's not that low at all. And this is where you see it, right? Like, this Rakan goes in, but the Braum passive comes down. The damage just gets denied. They can't finish anybody off, and then they just take one down. As meanwhile, apparently this Ashe tried to still clear her wave, because she didn't end up dying in the river there. But she's just kind of caught out, and they're just gonna donate a kill to the Kog'Maw, who's now 2-0-1, starting off a scaling game with almost like a 600 gold lead very early on, a dragon into the advantage as well of Black Manta. Looking really, really good for the side of Black Manta to start this game off with 7 minutes in.
And I mean, very good awareness coming out from the side of Black Manta, right? Saying, look, we already put our eggs in one basket. We need to make sure that that basket is as full as it can be, giving Caliber over that kill. And meanwhile, in the mid lane, I believe it was Dot who got a solo kill onto Denzer. And in Orianna, solo killing Tristana in the early game is something you don't tend to see very often. So definitely a little bit of a question mark as to what happened there. But so far we are seeing Black Manta with a slight gold lead in the early game.
Yeah, a little bit of a hiccup there, I guess, for Denzer. But I can understand it. You saw a lot of action happening bot lane. You probably panned your camera over there, so it's kind of interesting to watch. Maybe you're just not paying attention. As in the meantime, really good pressure here coming down to kind of still keep your CS leads for the side of Solaris, as you know, the freeze ended up getting pushed. They're kind of answering the freeze, and then the Kog'Maw has to let this kind of fall into his towers. He's gonna be losing a few CS there, but then again, still 2 kills on his name. His skull is almost halfway through the finish as well, so looking really nice still for the side of Black Manta. As in the meantime, you've also seen quite some vision coming down here for Black Manta on this Herald, so it's going to be hard for Diego to spot that, but again, there's Ashe Arrow going in.
Engage comes through Grand Entrance, it's going to be popped. Caliber is going to fall very, very low. Shutdown over to Tropic with the Ignite as well. Is the Kog'Maw passive going to be enough to get the kill? The answer is no, and Kellogg gets to live another day as a fight on the top side ensues. Lazy Panda is going to be looked upon. Maybe now no Ornhorn available. Tenno could have stepped up a little bit too far here. Is going to be under threat versus 3. The explosive satchel is going to get him out. Shockwave hits you, but it's not going to be enough damage. Now Dot needs to make a run for the hill. Snowball on his way. He's going to hit the wall, and mentally unstable, unfortunately not picking up that kill, but should be picking himself up a hefty Herald in the top lane.
It's rough to drift those snowballs when you are that unstable, so he's gonna clip on the edge there of the wall, and he's gonna just not gonna be able to pick off this Orianna, because I think that Tristana had her dash reset there, so she would have been able to jump over. Definitely he's gonna burn the flash on Orianna, but they'll still end up picking up this Herald here. Looking like they had the priority on the side here. The Tristana was first in the river, and the Cassante with a little bit of a questionable flash. Maybe was looking like to flash and then ultimate through the wall to then still make some kind of an escape, but kind of just ends up stuck on that wall with everybody behind him, so he can't really do anything. But in the meantime, a really nice kill though for the side of the Ashe there. Like the Kog'Maw was still level 5, and he's kind of walking up, and she just sees the opportunity to just ult him, and yeah, they just kind of had enough base damage to kind of burn his Kog'Maw. As I think he was also dropping a little bit lower, as he was quite long in lane at that point. But overall, no harm, no foul in bot lane. You're still scaling, still 700 gold lead for the side of Black Manta. They've got themselves his Herald, and I think we're gonna now have to start seeing what they're gonna do with it. And I probably want to see it personally in bot lane. You got this Kog'Maw, get him fed. Should be a no-brainer personally to me.
Yeah, definitely so, and Caliber, good candidate for the Herald. Denzer, as was another good candidate. Killog now should have to grant entrance over the wall. I believe he should be completely fine here. Is just getting as much information as he can before jumping on out. There's the grant entrance, is gonna get him over to safety now. A big pickup, like you said, the shutdown for Trophic means that this Ashe going into the mid game is gonna be very strong. Right, Dot now, as this with the shockwave could look here, Wish is gonna be left to his lonesome. Denzer looking to give his support the jump, the flash is gonna come on out, keep to TP in the mid lane, as well as Panda now.
Kog'Maw's
He's
not
gonna be
there.
looking mentally unstable, is gonna flash in, they're looking for Panda, looking to pick up this Viego early on. Wishing now, he's gonna be very low HP here, can TP, the grand entrance is gonna hit 4, but is there enough follow-up? Maybe now, he's gonna be under that here, but shockwave hits 4, and that should be the side of Black Manta completely wiped out into the ether. Denzer is gonna be looked upon as well as stuck in the Raptor pit. The jump is gonna get him over to safety, but for how long? Speed up from Dot should be completely fine to finish off this Tristana, but Dot with a huge play down in the bot side river.
This is such a confusing map state, I think, as I saw Black Manta control the river early, but Solaris actually groups up as 4 first and kind of pushes them out, and then they're kind of chunking them before the Kog'Maw actually gets there. And once he does, I think some of the most important cooldowns are already burned. And then you're clumped up against the Orianna as the ball was passed on to kind of score a huge goal with that one. You do get 1 kill there on the Rakan for your Tristana, but that is... Oh, actually the Drake was not yet picked up, as I think they might have chased a little bit too long. So if this might still end up going for Black Manta, I guess it's not too big of a deal, but you have dropped down a lot of gold. But we do see the Viego coming down there, and they're not going to give this away for free, as the Drake is partially resetting right now, and they have to regroup to get on top of this, as Muno is preparing his offense.
A fight on our hands. Lazy Panda now will be tanking the snowball, but will be tanking not for long now. Shockwave now is going to be available as well. Lazy Panda is going to look the first one to go down. It's going to be mentally unstable. Caliber now under threat from Trophic is going to get taken down, and Black Manta are just absolutely getting swept under the rug. Solaris is going to pick themselves up that fight, and this is a very early lead for the side of Solaris.
Solaris just taking... They're just demanding everything right now. They're just kind of taking a fight right up to Black Manta and saying, what are you going to do about it? And well, apparently Black Manta didn't get the memo that you have to put this Braum in front of the Kog'Maw. As Kog'Maw's, he's actually leaving the front line of his team, and I guess he's going on a flanking mission here, but I think he forgot that he's an 80 carry in this game, so he's kind of not there. He's not able to actually DPS this Viego. I think after that stun comes down, then he should have just dropped down, but instead he gets to pick up his soul, and he kind of just runs away with that fight, as well as with the other CC coming up from the Rakan and the Ashe. They're just kind of getting free kills for now, and that's actually now 4,000 gold all of a sudden to the side of Solaris.
Yeah, I gotta admit, Caliber's pathing a little bit confusing. There's another snowball down towards this bot lane. Trophic should go down very easily, or shot down over to Caliber, but the pathing on that bot lane fight, just running away from his team, ends up trying to get the flank in, which I mean, a flanking Kog'Maw, who knew that wasn't gonna work out? Right, gets absolutely turned on the second he shows by Trophic. Good awareness from Trophic as well. Just show that as soon as Caliber turns up, immediately turns on the Kog'Maw. Trophic knows the biggest threat on the side of Black Manta. Tenno now is going to be looking for some grass stacks and a little bit more trading in the top side, but it is Solaris with a 2,000 gold lead in this early game.
Yeah, top lane is still very, very even. I think this is going to be probably like that for the rest of the game, at least when it comes to the 1v1. In the bot lane, a good shutdown come down for the Kog'Maw, definitely needed. He's gonna finish his Rage Blade, but on the other side, you see this Ashe with a 30 CS gold lead. was a 40 CS when she got picked off. Getting a little bit too greedy with pushing up that tower there. But she's picked herself up a Kraken Slayer, and she's gonna go for a more of an on-hit build here with the Blade of the Ruined King. I believe if you wanted to do this, I personally would have just started the Black Cleaver first item and then just opted into the Rage Blade. But if he gets the Rage Blade third item, his DPS is still going to be really, really big, and he's going to be able to shred through this tank Nunu as well as tank Ornn as well as a tank Braum quite fast. So if you're going to accelerate your tempo for the sides of the Solaris, the tank shred might still actually be present, as right now we do see that Kog'Maw has finished his call, but top lane,
Tenno with a solo bolo in that top lane, maybe
I guess, just advantage towards Xante. I don't know.
And that's what you get when you face roll your keys. Now Trophic gonna be under threat TP down towards bot lane as well. Trophic is gonna be the first one to go down. Double TP. Tenno is over here, but without ultimate dot now. With the shockwave could be huge. Misses out on Caliber. This could be massive for the side of the Solaris. Now can they take out Caliber? Yes, they can. And Caliber is gonna be able
dash
to
range?
They take out Denzer, they take out Dot, they take out absolutely everybody. Caliber picks up so many kills for himself. Like Killog is gonna be under threat. Flash over the wall. Grand entrance was not even available. Panda with a herald over towards the top side to be able to pick up this top tower with ease. And Black Manta getting something back there and getting that shutdown from Dot is huge.
Such a massive play here for side of Black Manta. They recognize that Ashe is all alone in bot lane. They're gonna send down this Tristana. They're just gonna kill her. Like, she has to run away or she will die to the Tristana. But they answer with 2 TPs. Really nice movement there for the Cobra. They just get out of that ultimate from Orianna, and then you have this Cassandra who TP'd down, but he just expended all of his most important cooldowns and a lot of HP on the top side there. And he just kind of ends up giving another kill, and I'm really questioning why he did TP down. It's fine if you lose this Ashe, you were gaining tempo on the top side. Just get the first tower on the map, as now it actually goes over to Black Manta. I believe that should have been free for the side of Solaris, so really questionable answer there. I think you just give up this Ashe and get yourself the advantage top lane.
Definitely Solo with a misplay coming out, and Panda as well. He's got the Herald in his inventory, and like you said yourself, it is Black Manta who'll pick up first tower gold. Now a little bit of trading down on in the bot lane. Both of these bot laners are looking to play so aggressive in this game, despite we both talked about them being a little bit more scaling on their side and still just looking to brawl, looking to fist fight. Top lane is gonna be where the Solaris end up responding with a tower. A little bit more gold over to Tenno, who so far has been having a decent game for himself, and should be able to get the second charge in as well. No worries. Might be even looking for the tower, but maybe the defender of this tier 2 in the top lane should be able to keep it safe.
In the meantime, we're gonna see the Kog'Maw started up with the Nunu on this Drake, but they're getting flanked on 2 sides here. I think they just have to choose a side and attack it, and that's what they're gonna do. But this Kog'Maw's down.
Gonna be under threat here. That's gonna be the Grand Entrance coming in as well now. Shutdown over to Caliber. It does mean that Dot is gonna go down. Lazy Panda as well with the shutdown and with that reset over to Denzer. Can he get that stun in? Blue team will be slaying the Dragon. Ashe ends up securing it now. 1 HP on Denzer. He's actually gonna get the outplay. The Kite is too good, mentally unstable as well, walking himself on over, as it's gonna be Black Manta picking themselves up the game. Third Drake of the game.
That was another fight there indeed. Like, they waited so long with responding, and then they kind of are, the Kog'Maw's just kind of stuck. He doesn't have flash, he's stuck in the river. He has to choose, like, either you get locked down by the Rakan and hit by the Orianna, or you get locked down by the Orianna and get hit by the Ashe, because the Braum can't shield both ways, so they just waited way too long to turn, and then you have this massive overchase from the Viego, he was feeling it, right? He was feeling that third kill there, so, but just falls short of getting that other kill, as he gets killed by Tristana on 1 HP right in front of his nose. It's gotta feel really bad, but then again, they did manage to shut down the Kog'Maw once again, so I'm not sure how this game is gonna go, because I feel like the fights are being played out so weird that either team can kind of win them. But I want to still say it should be Black Manta because of the scaling, but if they're played out like this, I have no clue how it's gonna go down.
I can respect a good overchase, and definitely one coming out from Lazy Panda there. So far we are seeing both of these teams just sort of fist fight it out, both of these teams sort of throwing in punches and receiving punches as well. And it is gonna be most of the kills on the side of Solaris onto Dot. Already a hat and a Heliandris in his inventory. This is going to be a Orianna that's gonna hurt if you get hit by that shockwave.
Yeah, throughout all of these skirmishes, the scaling of this Orianna has been accelerated quite a lot. On the other side, you've got this Kokma who's actually only at 135 CS at 20 minutes, but this Orianna is at 180 right now, 4 kills to her name. She's picked up her free boots as well. She's got herself that hat and a mask. She's got herself a ring as well. The only thing I guess that doesn't fit in there is a tier if you want to do some kind of cosplaying. But she is very strong. If this ultimate does get on top of this Kokma, I think you might just be instantly deleted. There is a locket, but I don't know if that's enough. I was seeing a little bit of a skirmish almost happening, but yeah, Solaris wants to accelerate this game. It looks like they're really posturing aggressively for this mid tower and this Baron, and the Kokma just has to give this up though.
Definitely so, and mid tier 1 is gonna be falling. Now mentally they were gonna be charging there in. Not sure if you wanna charge into 4 as Enchanted Crystal Arrow is gonna be able to pick himself up now. The fight continues as Blazing Panda is gonna be looking denser, looking for a flank as a Tristan. I'm not sure if that's the move. Dot with a huge shockwave of his own as well. Trophic is gonna pick himself up a triple kill, potential quadra kill. Maybe he's gonna go down to 10-0. 10-0 says, hey, I want a piece of that. Give me Tad Orn, as it's gonna be Solaris walking themselves on over to this Baron. Nashor and should be able to take it with ease.
A fantastic fight for the side of Solaris. The Nunu just goes quite too far, just gets locked down, and the scaling has come online actually in terms of max percent health damage for this Ashe. You've got this TP flank coming through from Tristana, but she can't quite finish off the Rakan. It's also not really the target you want to burst down, as this Ashe is just quietly untouched this entire fight and just DPSing away. She's an excellent fight, a great ultimate as well for the Orianna. There was kind of you saw a little bit of that feeling for the Kokma coming through there, but it just wasn't quite enough. There's also this Cassante as well, with the knockups from his third Q coming through, just kind of disrupt the DPS. And with the first skill going down so fast, they just took tempo in this fight, and they just kind of run away with it. They're gonna get themselves a Baron as their prizes. Right now, I think, yeah, what you're looking for, I guess the tempo from this game 1 victory from Solaris is kind of taking over the game, as Kokma might be a little bit in a hard place.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow is gonna find the pick in the mid lane. Trophic again picks himself up another one. 7-3-9 on this Ashe, making the difference, and the momentum so far certainly going the way of Solaris. Even in that game 1 we saw the same thing, and this time Solaris, even in that game 1, ends up not winning the early game, still wins the game, and this time they won the early game and looks to just sweep Black Manta under the rug with a swift 2-0 if it continues the way it has been.
The way they're playing out this Baron looks also very, very good right now. They with this pickup as well, and anyways, but they have this kind of 1-4 situation where the Ornn has to respond to the pressure of the Cassante, so he kind of stuck and he can't group with his team. As the Nunu was hoping they were gonna siege a little longer as he was preparing a snowball, but really good heads-up play here for that side of Solaris, showing that they know restraint as they're going to pick up this spawning dragon, kind of chasing away this Nunu so he can't those.
Trophic can...
Bork is coming through.
I was gonna say Trophic can look for a kill there. He's got the Bork, he's got the Ashlow, like definitely Ashe as a champion can chase people down. Dragon is gonna be started up here by the side of Solaris. Should be a free pickup for them. And Hallgren, I gotta admit, if you are the side of Black Manta, this does not look too good for you.
No, right now I think with this Cassante, I think especially with this Baron buff, he can keep this Ornn stuck and not allow him to group. So not the same amount of peeling and CCs coming through for the side of Black Manta. So they're kind of struggling in how they have to respond to the rest here, because there's a lot of big tools for the side of Solaris. This Cassante might find himself in a bit of a rough scenario as it's a 2v1, but that is a tank too, though.
Yeah, it's gonna find himself in a 2v1, does get turn into a 1v1 now. It's gonna bring maybe over to Brazil, maybe trying to get as quickly as he can out of that situation. But Tenno says, you don't have the passport, my friend, I must take you in. As there's a fight in the mid lane, got grand entrance with the quickness come through. Killon is gonna be diving into the back line, but diving on, he's lonesome as no one is
He's
around. Still looking for this kill on the top lane. Now the fight ensues in the mid lane, as well as the BLM members are just chasing down the side of Solaris. Solaris taking a run
Show the top
for
lane.
the hills and maybe somehow, some way gets out with his life.
The Ornn waddles away, as it kind of feels like a walk of shame though, because he just kind of, you wanted to pick him off, and the Xanthus is like, no, I'm gonna take this 2v1 turn into a 1v1, and it kind of turns into a chase. I really thought he would get the kill there, but he manages to get out, and in the meantime, I think what you saw there was actually also the response as well with all of this pursuit going on, that the Ashe wanted to pull the trigger, the Rakan wanted to pull the trigger, but a really good Tristana ultimate to knock the Rakan immediately off the carry, so the Orianna ball couldn't be passed to it to give that massive ultimate on him. And they're just gonna kind of run out that Rakan, and that was kind of the end of the siege at that point. They did break mid tower now, but they did manage to stop, I guess for now, the bleeding, as we're looking at a 2-minute timer for a Baron and a 3-minute timer for a third Drake for either side.
Definitely so, and I mean, it is going to be what I believe is a, like you said, 2-minute timer towards the Baron Caliber.
No!
And is gonna be looked on in the mid lane. Even the quickness gets popped. They want this Kog'Maw dead, and that is exactly what they are gonna get. Caliber just getting caught time and time again, and this is why you opt into the cleanse against the Ashe. This is because now the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, if it does hit, you are just gonna die every time.
Yeah, and die he did. I don't even know if he was on vision. I think he kind of shot that blind. He just said, like, let's see what happens. And they're getting themselves a Kog'Maw on the silver platter, as they're just starting off the next siege on his bot side here. Because it's right now a 5v4, although it's 5 seconds for this Kog'Maw to still respawn. I'm not sure if they can really commit to this, because they don't have the Baron buff, although they're kind of pushing him far away, so I guess his tower's going to drop, but there isn't going to be a fight starting.
They are going to take this fight. Lazy Panda is going to be looked on against very low HP. Tenno just pushes down that bot lane. The shockwave could be big here. It's going to hit 3, and it's going to get enough. Tenno with the ultimate as well. It's going to swap now. Grand Entrance coming through onto 2 Denzer with a beautiful buffer on the W to get himself on up. Maybe he's going to go down as well on that, on a flash through from Tropic, a flash forward from Tenno. Everybody's flashing forward. Caliber now going to be looked on. Enchanted Crystal Arrow this time on.
Run, puppy!
For him.
Run!
Caliber is gonna live in the fountain, and Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes a little bit wide there. Tenno is gonna take him down by the tower, and Solaris are just saying, let's end this game now. I've had enough, as they are just hunting, chasing the members on the side of Black Manta.
An amazing teamwork going out for the side of Solaris. This Xanthus is just kind of like saying, hey, what's up? And then the ball shows up from behind him as he gets the pass, and it explodes to just lock them all down. Just so much damage coming down from the Orianna ultimate, and then it's just Solaris taking over as they're gonna pick themselves up. 2 inhibitors, they were almost getting the Kog'Maw under his fountain. He's not safe anywhere anymore. He's trying to run as fast as he can. I think he should have been able to die there if the Ashe wanted to commit, but they're just going to let him live for now, at least this time, as they're going to regroup. They're going to send all their forces to the Baron here, and I believe that's got to be the closing fight here coming down here for the side of Solaris. I think they've completely taken over this game, and I just don't see how Black Manta, with the loss of tempo in this game, comes back from this. I think now 10k gold deficit.
Yeah, definitely so, and also Hex Drinker picked up by Lazy Panda, gonna be even harder to kill. When it comes to the damage of Caliber, it comes to the damage of mentally unstable. Now Baron is going to be started up here. We have seen a few Baron steals so far in the regular season, so it's gonna be up to mentally stable to see if he can add another one onto that tab. Lazy Panda looking for his zone, looking for an engaged flash. Is gonna be up Smite as well, and this is why he does objective against the Nunu, because he can just flash in and do that out smite every champion in the game day and night, and it's gonna be mentally unstable with the Baron steal, which might keep Black Manta alive for just a little bit longer.
I can't understand how that one is just allowed. Like, just take your time. You've got 2 inhibitors down. Just back off of this Baron. Just clear the controller. At least don't give him vision. Let him do it at least blind. And they're just gonna now use these Baron means. I think it's start the game longer, but that's Ashe Arrow.
Caliber again under the engage, under the threat now. Dot Shockwave already has been used. Dot is gonna go down. He's under tower. Tropic now. He's gonna be looked on as well. This could be the fight for the side of Black Manta. This could be the one they win, but Lazy Panda says no. Let me make the difference. Reset comes on through. He's gonna jump under tower. A triple kill for the Tristana there and shut down 4 Caliber, but finally Black Manta is gonna be coming through. Finally Black Manta finds something and then Zer finds himself 3 kills.
They pull the trigger on the Kog'Maw, and it is the Kog'Maw who finalizes all the kills on the side of Black Manta as they kind of managed to hold the line here. You see them coming in with this ultimate. You see the Orianna ultimate showing up as at the same time, and they chunk them so low. But then they're just too far out. They just can't really keep going. And the Kog'Maw is just kind of like shredding them at the back end of this fight here. So really, really nice way to hold the stand, to hold the line here on the side of Black Manta, as they're going to be able to pick themselves up their Drake now. And at the same time, it's 2 sides of super minions pouring into the base of Black Manta. So you're seeing that, I think earlier you saw about like a 40 CS deficit on the side of the Kog'Maw. Now he's actually managed to almost pull up a 30 CS ahead on the Ashe now. So he's hitting now 3, almost 4 items. And he just finished his Blade Ruined King there as well. So the scaling has come online for Black Manta. So Solaris kind of trying to rush away with this game, trying to rush the Baron, not respecting the Nunu steal potential, trying to pull the trigger too fast on this top lane, and they're getting punished. And they're gonna find themselves a lone Brondo.
Wishing now gonna be under threat. A lot of cooldowns being used for just a single Braum. Magenti Crystal Arrow quickness not going to be available now. Mentally unstable. He's gonna end up going down as well. Tenno looking for Caliber here, but keep your eyes on this Kog'Maw. That is the big main threat. That is the big damage, but the big damage ends up getting the one who takes the damage as he's gone. Black Manta now are gonna dismantle or be dismantled by the side of Solaris there, and they were looking good for one team fight. They were looking strong, and now they are looking down. They looking like they are 6 feet under, and looks like Solaris is gonna take us serious.
I was about to make the point that Solaris is rushing it a little bit too fast and they're taking hasty decisions, but they do manage to keep composure. They find the lone Braum, turn it into one pick, turn it into multiple picks, and they shake Black Manta, and they're gonna be able to clean sweep, no, almost clean sweep them, but they're gonna end up getting the victory over almost a Black Manta coming online with ultimate late game scaling, but just not quite. And they're gonna be able to turn this into a 2-0. They have to feel good about this.
Definitely so, and of course quantify now Solaris Eris being a team that has struggled so much in the past, right? A team that has seen so many lows, but this is definitely going to be a high that they are gonna be proud about, and one that they can cling on to if times do get rough. Black Manta being a team that many looked on to as being a pretty high contender, and now Solaris Eris ends up beating them 2-0, which means going into the next week, they are going to be 6-4 on the side of Solaris Eris, and they are going to be a threat as well heading into that next week.
Yeah, they should be looking a lot more scary now on the side of Black Manta. Tough loss here. I think they made some early game mistakes, kind of rushing it and like not really approaching the team fights correctly as to how their comp should function, and falling behind there. I think Solaris, they took that tempo and they really, really showed that they can run away with it. So looking like a really strong side here for really good victories here on the side of Solaris. So tough for Black Manta, but I think you saw there a little bit of what could have happened. So you can take away at least comfort that you made it tough for them, right? So that's at least something that went well here for the side of Black Manta.
Definitely so, and I mean Black Manta won the early game in that game number 1, right? So it's not like they completely just it's not like they looked completely lost in today's series, right? They just had a few too many mistakes, which ended up just mounting on top of each other and piling up, which means that Solaris Eris ends up taking our series 2-0 today. Now, that is not the only series for today. We are going to have Beast Team Esports versus Greasy Goblins next up. But before that, we are going to have a quick stream restart for ourselves, just so we can get the players ready, just so we can get ourselves ready for this series number 2 of the day. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be right back.
Let's go.